This is the 19th Tee podcast. Kieran Marsh, Nathan Drudy back with you for another week. Drew, it's a special one tonight. Yes. I think it would be fair to say. We've done close to 170 odd episodes now, and I think it would be fair for us to surmise that there's a handful that stand out above the rest. Not to say that we don't enjoy each other's company or that of our guests each and every week, but there's definitely a handful that stand out above the rest. Fair to say?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, how often do we say, easily in my top 5 or 6 interviews, I think we say just about on a weekly basis, but this one is truly embedded, I reckon, in both of our top 5s very easily.
Comfortably. We are, of course, referring to episode 109, which was with Louis Dobbelaar way back in February of this year. That's a name that you've continued to hear us talk about an awful lot in the months since. He's, of course, at the beginning of what shapes as an incredibly exciting career. He recently announced his transition to being a full-time professional, has secured status on the PGA Tour of Latin America, and I think he's got a huge few years ahead of him. But, Drudes, there was a portion of that interview that really stood out for both of us, and that was when Louis spent a few minutes talking about a young man by the name of Josh McIntosh, who was an incredible, I think, inspiration to him early on in his career, at a really pivotal moment of his career. And I think played a huge part in shaping the young man that Louis is today. So I thought at the top here, because we do have a special guest we want to bring on in just a moment, but at the top, for those who may not remember or who did miss the chat with Louis altogether, it would be nice for us to revisit those few minutes of Louis speaking about his good friend Josh. Louis, on this show, we've spoken, as I said, to a great many number of Australian golfers, and over time, they all seem to fall neatly into one of two categories, and that's either the young, prodigious athlete who was really good at a whole number of sports and then kind of towards the back end of the teenage years fell into golf and chose that and decided that was going to be the path. Mm-hmm. Or it's the person who it's seemingly almost written that they were always going to be good at the game. And I find it remarkable that you touched on the point that no one else in your family really plays it, which makes me think that it was almost meant to be that you fell into golf. And I'm curious, therefore, who was it from an early age for you? You're making that jump from picking up the game at 8 or 9 to winning a New Zealand amateur within, 7 or 8 years. Who's that person who first sees something in Louis Dobbelaar and starts to foster that talent that was probably sitting just beneath the surface?
I think no matter what, like my mum and dad have always been the biggest supports that I've had. They've always believed and they've always given me an opportunity to do what I love. And, nothing I say will ever be able to tell them how much I appreciate that. But, the one person that was really important to me who actually recently passed away, his name was Josh McIntosh. I would have been playing for a couple of years when I met him. And he's a member at Brookwater when I first kind of started getting into, club comps and whatnot. And he was probably the person that believed in me the most. And unfortunately, December last year, he passed after a bit of a battle with a few health issues. And, for me now, I dedicate, my career to him. He kind of gave me that little bit of a shot to chase what I wanted to do, and kind of was able to show me that I did have a little bit of something different.
I wanted to ask you about Josh, because I obviously doing a little bit of research before having a chat to you tonight. I was reading through a few things and particularly a few photos that you had shared recently. And I'm conscious that it's obviously probably still quite raw and it's something you're very close to, but also to the point you've just made, it was obvious without even needing for you to say it then how influential he was in not only your career, but seemingly quite an infectious personality. I noticed, the post you did when he sadly passed, there was a comment there from Ricky Fowler, of all people, talking about, how touched he was to have met him and spent some time with him. And clearly an individual who, a little bit larger than life, loved the game, and that was infectious on other people. So what kind of mark do you think he leaves on you moving forward, Louis, in terms of a little bit of not an obligation, but a drive and a desire for you to kind of make sure that your talent is realised on behalf of Josh in many ways?
Yeah. So yeah, you guys work with Cobra Puma, right?
Yeah, well, we do have a relationship with the great guys at Cobra Puma. They're a sponsor of this program, a fantastic mob, and a nice working relationship with the team at Cobra Puma.
Yeah, awesome. So Josh actually used to work. He was a sales rep for Cobra Puma Golf up in Queensland, and they probably don't like me telling you guys or telling everyone this, but he used to give me all the samples and used to kit me out with all the gear, and a lot of that was for him. I mentioned it earlier, like golf was never cool at a young age, but when you've got someone like, for me, with Josh, it was through the eyes of Ricky. And at the PGA on the Gold Coast, I think it might have been like 2014, 2015, or maybe even earlier. But I was quite young, and I was lucky enough I got to caddy in Ricky's group. And that's how I got to meet, Ricky it was kind of through Josh. I think he pulled a few strings to get me into that group. And that week we all went out to dinner. And there was this element to, this rock star lifestyle that Ricky had that Josh kind of influenced, on me. And I just found that the most cool thing. Like, golf's just it's not this old person's game that you have to be super mature and you have to, wear white socks at a golf club and all that kind of bullshit. Ricky brought in, flat bill hats, and Josh was an unbelievable sales rep and I think if you talk to anyone there, like, he would have done some serious numbers for that company and, seriously built them for Australia. And that was through the eyes of Ricky. He was able to sell, this new style of golf. And I just caught on to that because, wearing a flat hat playing golf was something a bit different. And these bright colors and orange drivers and, that kind of grabbed me. And that was all through, Josh's eyes. And he was always a pretty good golfer, and he kind of got me. There's some stories that I probably shouldn't say, but it's funny. He treated me like a little kind of brother when I was literally 10, 11 years old. I remember those trips that he'd come back from Vegas after being at like a PGA show with Cobra, and he'd be drinking beers, be on the horses, and I was this little 11-year-old just kind of, finding this like the best thing ever. Like I felt like I was a old cool person, and it kind of gave me a bit of a style for golf, and I do owe a lot to him. And I think, there's a lot of things that I wish I could say now, but it's too late, and I kind of owe my being to him.
Well, there you have it, Drews. I mean, I think Louis said it all in his own words. Clearly someone that had an enormous influence on Louis in his early days, but someone who continued, I think, and continues to play a huge role in his development.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was a part of the chat that I don't know that you and I, when we sat down to record with Louis, I don't know that was sort of a story that we were going to necessarily touch on, and I'm super glad we did, because it's a really important story and a really important part of Louis' story as well. And I guess that brings us to where we are this evening, KM.
Absolutely. And I think, Drudes, for as touched as we were that Louis trusted us enough to share that story with us, I think it was a message that we received, ironically, a few months later, that probably meant the most to us. And, we do get a fair bit of feedback on the show, and I'm fairly confident in saying this is the nicest message that we've both received in the context of the close to 2.5 years we've been doing this. I'll read it verbatim before we bring our guest in. It says, "G'day fellas, just wanted to shout out some love to the type of content you're putting out there. I recently listened to your interview with Louis Dobbelaar, as I'm quite close with him, and mentioned my late brother Josh as a source of inspiration, which was of great emotion, and appreciated the way that you let that evolve throughout his interview. So thank you. It was a pleasure and a privilege to receive that message, as it is to now. Drewster, welcome on the gentleman who sent it to us, and that is Josh's brother, Brad. Bradley, welcome to the 19th Tee. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, gents. Appreciate how that's evolved, and it's good to be a part and sort of, I guess, be a part of your platform to be able to, speak to Josh and on the back of Louis and what he's doing, some credible things. So, thanks again for having me on, fellas.
There is an exciting initiative coming in the next few weeks, which is the reason why we've got you on. We want to talk about that very soon, but I want to start with, I suppose, a little bit more about Josh. We got Louis' impressions, who, spent a really crucial few years with him as he was an impressionable young man, but you grew up with him, you're his brother. And one thing that really has struck me, not just when we first heard that from Louis, but in the time since, and I re-listened to it over the weekend when I knew we were going to speak to you, is it was clear how important Josh was to Louis. But I got the sense the more that he spoke about him, that experience probably wasn't just unique to Louis, that most people who came into contact with Josh would probably have a similar story to tell. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that's probably an underestimated comment, Kieran. Yeah, Josh was incredibly charismatic, very, very forthcoming in terms of involving people in no matter what was what was going on. His friendship range is incredibly wide, and I guess that's why he touched so many people, and through his journey, which was lifelong, but certainly in the last 2 years, it was obviously at its toughest point. So there's people still here today on Earth that reached out to me that are still here because of Josh. So I think that just talks to the sort of person he was, and we're sort of trying to do what we can to keep his memory going, as is what Louis is doing also. Absolutely. There's so many people that would have that type of story, and for what Josh had to deal with, and knowing at an early age what was coming, he absolutely lived life that not so much consequences, but he loved to live life, and we lost a great one too early. So
I think it speaks volumes of who he must have been as a person, that he was as comfortable in the company of a young Louis as he was with a Ricky Fowler, right? And there was that portion of that chat where Louis spoke about the fact that Josh really showed Louis the type of rock star lifestyle that it could be lived through someone like Ricky, and that golf wasn't that stereotype that maybe Louis had grown up to know it. And to be that sort of conduit between someone who's at the very beginning of their journey and to be as comfortable around, one of, if not at the time, the most famous golfers in the world, it just speaks volumes of the type of, to your point, charismatic guy he must have been.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that goes back to, about just over 10 years ago, when the Cobra Puma brand moved away from under the Acushnet umbrella. And, Josh was one of the first, if not the first, to become a Cobra Puma representative based out of Queensland. And, he extremely quickly made his mark. Where we met Louis at Brookwater, we actually were pretty much neighbours, and that's sort of where it kicked off. And to see the big Cobra van drive through, Josh rolls out in his full kit of orange, just rocking exactly what Fowler would do. He quickly got a name for himself, and spread like wildfire, the brand and what he did to elevate it, and early, I think it was 2012 when the President's Cup team were out here, and I think that's where Josh first met Ricky, and they absolutely hit it off. And for I guess Louis to see that connection and be able to meet one of his idols, and at the time it probably still is, obviously wore off on him. And from there, I guess, to see Louis sort of go through his junior, go through the junior ranks, and him and Josh would wear the same matching outfits. Josh would be on his bag, and just rocking the same outfit. So it was very cool to see and be, a part of as well. So
I tell you, I thought it when Louis told us, and it's only reinforcing now talking to you. If there's one thing I regret, it's not the opportunity to interview him on this podcast, because I reckon he would have been a great chat. And I reckon we also would have gotten a fair bit of trouble if he was our Cobra Puma rep, because it could have been an absolute sweepstakes.
40's a bit more clean cut than Josh might have been. 40 will be listening to that now.
I can't remember how long his corporate card lasted, but before he had to use his own money. But he was, he would, absolutely have any opportunity to get the brand out there and, throw the card over the bar, for example. He'd just be all up and involved in it. So
golf's clearly in the family, Brad. What was it like growing up? Was it competitive between the two of you? Were you, or did he see you as a bit of as an older guide, or was he like most younger brothers where he just wanted to cut his teeth against you and be really quite competitive?
Yeah, absolutely. We sort of both grew up. I guess cricket was sort of the main sport for us growing up. And certainly in the family, on both mum and dad both played themselves, and we probably got a little bit more into it. We used to have a Easter holiday up to Merimbula on the coast of New South Wales, there, southern coast, and there was a resort we used to go to, had a pitch and putt and 9 holes, and that's where we sort of probably cut our teeth a little bit out there, and just sort of explored, grew from there. We, in the off seasons, we'd take it up, and it was absolutely a family affair. Both my parents worked in the industry. Both myself and my brother fell in the industry on the back of that as well. So, it's, we absolutely fought hard. He certainly had the, he did get down to scratch. So he certainly had the talent in the team, in the family. So, incredibly arsey is probably a good word. He would, just sort of get it up and down from absolutely anywhere. And, whereas, try to pretty much keep on the straight and narrow if I can. But, he certainly had the talent and, all the charisma on the field as well. So
we heard obviously Louis talking about his impressions of Josh and the impact that he had. But what do you recall about Louis meeting him sort of for the first time and as a youngster cutting his teeth at Brookwater? An incredibly tough place to learn golf, by the way. It's incredibly tough when you've been playing for a few years anyway. What's your first sort of memories of Louis, him coming through the pathway up there in Queensland?
Yeah, as I said before, I think the for seeing the big Cobra van come through, and you'd often see Louis come running out to see what new toys Josh got in the bag for an upcoming release or whatnot, and he always organised new sets of clubs for Louis to be cut down for him, to be made up for him, and he moved quickly from the Sport A Leisure polos into the Puma polos pretty quickly. But you could certainly see Louis that just to see what Josh did, one on a golf course, and tried to not see too much of him off course. But I think the tenacity and hard work. And just, I think, being a very good person. I think, the way Josh would include everyone and just want to make sure everyone was comfortable and enjoying themselves. I think, like myself, we had a great, mum and dad were great for us, bringing up as good people. So, I think that aspect of Josh being a good person absolutely would have rubbed off on Louis at the time. As you can see, he's come through. Louis, very humble, and he works hard. And yeah, I think he got a bit of that from Josh, no doubt.
It might be a difficult one to answer, Brad. So I apologise in advance if it is, but you must look back and be incredibly proud of him. I think because I think what I know of and have heard from yourself and also from Louis, the challenges that he faced with his health, with an incredibly rare condition, it would have been really easy to crack the shits, I think, and throw the towel down. And by the sounds of it, it was almost the polar opposite, that he squeezed everything that he had out of it and did all that he could to impart what he could on other people. And Louis is just one beneficiary of that. And it must be, for as difficult as it is not to still have him here, when you look back, you must be incredibly proud.
Yeah, absolutely. As an older brother, you want to protect your younger brother as much as you can. And for him to front up how he did, and the multiple issues he had to go through, the ins and out of ICUs, and just the realization of mortality, it's mentally incredibly difficult. And he was raw with sharing that as well. But in the mix of that, he was organising meals for the nurses. He had putting comps in his ward. As the doctors and the nurses did their rounds, we had a putting comp going for the best part of 9 months of what he was in and out of hospital. He even he made basically this mannequin that he'd do sort of a story on social media to, so he could have a little escape. And shout out to the guys at the cricket, Richmond Union Cricket Club, because that was a big part of his life as well. And the fellas down there were a big part of the last sort of 3 or 4 years in his life as well. So, to front up how he did it, it's incredibly brave for one, but he just absolutely did what he could, and I guess share what he could to I guess for anyone that's going through difficult times. It's hard to think anyone went through anything more difficult at the time. So in the mix of COVID, hardly anyone from a family. Myself was. Could hardly go in to see him through the worst of that, the COVID outbreak we had down here, and he just kept fronting up, until the very end. So incredibly proud. He's certainly one word, Kieran. So,
and on a slightly lighter note, what do you think he'd make of all this? All the stuff that's happened post being the centre of attention now at an upcoming golf day. Do you think he'd be loving it, or do you think it'd be a little bit uncomfortable for him?
It's certainly uncomfortable. He'd rock it. He'd absolutely rock it. But he certainly wouldn't want to be the centre of attention. And it's probably not what he wanted, but it's certainly no less than what he deserves. So we'll be doing everything we can to bring a little bit of awareness for what he went through. The condition he had is literally 1 in a million. So you're going to have a handful of people in the country that's dealing with it, but some people will be dealing with some sort of bone marrow deterioration or failure, I guess, is the crux of it. But he certainly wouldn't want to be the face or the front of it.
So we've alluded to it, but the big day is coming on Friday, the 3rd of December. It's the first in what I think we can call it the first annual, because I would suggest it's going to be a yearly event. The first annual golf day. Give us a little bit of context around the thinking, how it's come together, and what we can expect come Friday, the 3rd of December, up there at Brookwater, which is a very apt place to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're members there for sort of 6-7 years. Definitely the appropriate place to have the first one. The brains the brains behind it is definitely our mum, Gnomes. She's been running golf days for over 10 years and, has raised money for various charities. But, obviously a very hard one to be able to, sort of do all the organising for one that's, her son, essentially. But we're there to make it a big fun day. He loved a cheeky punt. He loved plenty of beers. So there's going to be plenty of that on the day. It's going to be bright. As we alluded to, orange was certainly his favourite colour, and it will be dressed. Everyone will be dressed in their brightest for the day, and we'll certainly make it annual. I've already looked at a day to do in Victoria as well for those. Some of his family and friends based down here. Unfortunately, Palaszczuk's not keeps pushing the band or the goalpost for us to get up there. So it's only a very slim chance that myself will get up there. But he's hoping plenty of vaccinations happen in the next 7 days, and have a chance to get up there for it. So.
Now, Brad, if people want to, my understanding is we're fully subscribed for the golf day. That's how popular it's been, and that's how popular Josh was. But there's plenty of other ways people can support or donate if they'd like to. I understand, though, and you mentioned how rare the condition is and was 1 in a million, literally, that Josh did his own research and actually found an organisation and a group in the US who really are the forefront of both awareness and, I suppose, fundraising for this condition. If you can give us a bit more context around that.
Yeah, absolutely. As it is so rare, there's no specific Australian-based foundation or charity for it. So dyskeratosis congenialis is the disease, and there's a charity based out of the US called Team Telomere, and Josh, as you said, went and found these guys, and within the first month of finding them, off his own bat, raised over 10 grand. So it's a close, it's obviously close to his heart, and therefore ours. So they're been so supportive of what he's done, and for sharing his journey. They're extremely grateful, and I guess they're at the forefront of supporting those families that are dealing with very rare conditions, and because there's not a whole lot, understandably. If it is rare, a lot of the time it's hard to get, funding to research, and that's that sort of thing. So they offer a great deal of support, and so Team Telomere is the charity.
Now, Brad, I believe Marshy's going to be there on the day. Obviously, as you mentioned, Palaszczuk moving goalposts. We haven't even got the goalposts set up over here yet, mate. So getting to Queensland is near on impossible for myself, but Marshy will be there on the day. I believe he's going to be playing. Have you played Brookwater before, KM?
Hey, this is baptism of fire for me.
You are in for a test. I mean, I've been to Queensland about 3 times in my life, and I got to play there last year. And as I said on the pod after I played, it came with a box of 24 balls, and I walked away with 3 at the end. So KM take plenty of balls. I mean, Brad, we're obviously very proud to support this as best we can. Are you worried at all about the pace of play having Marshy up there in the day?
Thankfully, Gnomes is very, very good at a pace of play setup with their events. So there's plenty of opportunity to buy your way to birdies, eagles. I think even hole in ones. So if you can't find your ball, you can certainly pay your way out of it. So.
I think my plan at this stage is to be late, so I force myself into the last group, so I don't have to disturb anyone behind me. I think that's the work in progress plan at present. But no, very much looking forward to playing Brookwater on what shapes as a wonderful day in honour of and in memory of Josh. Brad, we here at the 19th Tee would obviously outside of
my horrendous play like to contribute in some way, shape or form to the day. So we have just recently launched, as seemingly with every other single retailer in the world, our Black Friday sale on our merchandise. If you haven't seen it, make sure you jump on the socials, the Instagram and the Facebook, and we've got a couple of great Black Friday sale offers, and we are going to pool the proceeds of our Black Friday sale and donate that to Team Telomere as well from the 19th tee. So we'd strongly encourage people to jump on and get themselves a shirt, a cap, head cover, Druids, both. The little package, with package deal. The head of merchandise over in West Australia has done up a couple of ripping deals. And any purchase that you make in the Black Friday sale, your money will be going directly to support the fantastic cause we've been talking about tonight. So you don't have to worry, Brad. It won't just be my lost balls that'll be donated on the day. There will be some actual funds and goodwill coming the way of Team Telomere.
That's incredible. That's just amazing, gents. Thanks for kicking that off.
Look, very excited, very, very excited to get there on Friday, December 3rd. It would be remiss of us to let you go without talking about the other portion of the relationship we've since struck since we started talking, Brad. And it's funny how things come together in life. It was only through our ongoing conversations after that very first Instagram message that we did find out that you have a fairly decent day job, one that, I think Nathan and I will be pretty happy to go and work where you work. And it was courtesy of that we have now, of course, struck up our fantastic relationship with the team at Oakley, which we are incredibly proud of. Druids has got the glasses there. We have already given away a pair, and I think it would be comfortable to say Druids easily our most entered giveaway so far in the history of the 19th tee. People just trying really to want to get the sunnies. Yeah, really want to get their hands on the sunnies. Yeah, so it's been great. Brad, will tell us a little bit about Oakley and golf, because obviously I feel like it was really resurgent in the kind of 2000s, and then it went into a little bit of a lull, and now it seems like it's absolutely on its way back particularly from an apparel perspective for Oakley.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I've been just gone 10 years with the brand. It's still, I guess it's in its infancy from a apparel standpoint. I think the mid-90s, a lot of us grew up with the likes of Michael Jordan wearing the Oakley Minutes, and he really, in some ways put it made it global, and into the 2000s with the Olympics, and I guess that's what's synonymous with Oakley is the crazy shit they do. It's even in the latest Olympics, just the product that it continues to put out just amazes us, all on a global scale. But certainly, from a golf standpoint, Titleists like to talk about their ball, the most used ball. Oakley Eyewear is by far the biggest brand on from an eyewear standpoint across every tour. We from a stable standpoint, we don't really pay many athletes in the way of wearing our product. So people wear the product because it performs, and you can see the likes of Ricky recently donning on our eyewear. His putting has gone, stats have gone through the roof. So it just shows you how well the product does perform on the golf course. So,
well, we are incredibly proud to wear it, and incredibly proud to be a part of the resurgence beyond track athletes and NBA stars who win premierships. That seemed to be the niche there for a period of time, Brad. We had, the 100 and 400 metre runners of the world, and guys who just won a championship ring with bottles of champagne wearing the ski goggles. That was pretty much the two niche markets.
Absolutely. Any way they could get the brand onto the in those media opportunities are all about. So,
and now 18 handicappers. Beautiful.
On a good day, 18 slope adjusted. We'll say might not be 18 at Brookwater. Let me tell you, we could be double that. Look, Brad, it's been really nice to have you on to hear a little bit more about Josh's story. I think, as I said at the top, and as both myself and Druids agreed, it's been one of the the pieces across almost 170 episodes that has really stuck with us. And it was lovely to have Louis share a story, and even better to have his brother come on and share a few stories. So we certainly look forward to being involved on the 3rd of December and ongoing as we continue to raise a bit of awareness and funds for a much needed cause. So thanks for joining us tonight, and hopefully if we see the vaccination rates go through the roof in the next 6 days, I might see you at Brookwater in a week's time.
Yeah, here's hoping, Kieran. Thanks again for having me and the opportunity, and for Louis to share that. It's been incredible. So yeah, awesome, gents. Thanks.